Welcome to the Marine Sailing Club Learn to Sail program video for Session 2. These videos provide an introduction of information you will be covering with your instructor during your sailing class. During Session 1, we covered a lot of introductory topics. In Session 2, we're going to work on some of the mechanics of controlling the boat as you begin to sail upwind. We will also cover what to do if your boat becomes stuck in irons. And finally, we will talk about some of the rules of the road that you need to follow as you sail. Don't worry if this all doesn't make sense right away. Your certified U.S. sailing instructor will be there to explain and to demonstrate the skills and to answer all of your questions. In Session 1, we discussed the no-go zone, which prevents you from sailing directly into the wind. If you want to sail upwind, you'll want to tack the boat. Tacking the boat means turning the boat so that the front or the bow passes through the direction that the wind is coming from. Start by sailing in a direction near, but not directly into the wind. Next, you will push the tiller about 45 degrees towards the boom. Soon the boom will begin moving from one side of the boat to the other. When the boom is directly over the boat, switch sides to the other side of the boat. Once you're pointed in the direction you want to sail, straighten the tiller. One of the tricky parts of tacking the boat involves how do you get the tiller from one hand to the other hand as the boat is changing directions. Here in the figure number 1, we see that these sailors are on a port tack. The wind is coming into the boat over the left or port side of the boat. They wish to tack, and they're going to need to change the direction of the boat from a port tack to a starboard tack. When tacking the boat, you will be moving from one side to the other side, and you will need to swap the hands that you're using to hold both the main sheet and the tiller. The main sheet is usually held in the hand that is closest to the front of the boat, and the tiller is held by the hand that is closest to the back of the boat. When you're switching sides, you want to always keep facing forward in the boat. This way, you can keep your eye on what boats might be ahead of you. Begin by stepping with the foot that's closest to the back of the boat. Step that foot towards the opposite side and pass the tiller behind your back, as shown here in Figure 3. Notice that in Figure 3, this captain is still holding onto the main sheet in their left hand. Once the tiller is also in their left hand, they transfer the main sheet to their right hand. The process is a little tricky and requires some practice to learn, but you'll get a lot of time in class to practice just that. In order to tack the boat successfully, you'll need to have a little bit of speed before you start the tack. But even if you have speed, sometimes your boat might not make it all the way through the wind during the tack, and it will stop, leaving you stopped and pointed directly into the wind, which is what we call the no-go zone, where we say that you are now trapped in irons. If the boat is stopped, you'll no longer be able to get the boat to turn by just using the rudder. The rudder only works when the boat is moving through the water. If this were to happen, then you have a way to get out of irons. Start by using one hand to push the boom away from you, and use the other hand to also push the tiller away from you. The tiller will be turned about 45 degrees. If you hold the boom and the tiller in this position, the wind will back the sail, which means it will push on the opposite side of the sail, or the front part of the sail, which is opposite of where it is normally when we're sailing. Because the wind is now pushing on the front of the sail, the boat will begin to turn slowly and back up. You will actually be sailing the boat slowly backwards. After a few seconds, as the boat turns, the sails will fill with air, and you can release the boom and straighten your tiller. Your boat will now start sailing slowly forward. You'll get a lot of time in class to practice getting into and out of irons using this method. and you're going to want to practice this skill well, as it comes in very handy when you're learning to sail. Rules of the road. Just like when you're driving a car, there are many rules of the road for boats, which determine which boat has the right-of-way. Here are 3 important rules to remember. During class, your instructor will cover these rules and several more rules to help you to learn safely. In the figure on the left, there are 2 boats, both sailing upwind and both approaching each other. Notice that the wind is coming over the A boat on the left or port side, so we say that that boat is on port tack. On the other boat, the wind is coming over the starboard side, so boat B is on starboard tack. The rule of the road for sailboats and boating is that boats on the starboard tack have right-of-way over boats on port tack. So here, boat B may continue to go in this direction, and A will have to get out of the way of B. Either A will need to turn and put it also on starboard tack, or it could turn the other way and go behind the B boat, but B has the right-of-way. In the upper right diagram, there are 2 boats that are both going upwind, and they are both on starboard tack. So who has the right-of-way here? The rules of the road say that the downwind boat has the right-of-way. So if C and D were approaching each other, D would have to stay out of the way of C, since boat C has the right-of-way. And this would apply if they're both on starboard tack or if they were both on port tack. In the lower right is a scenario that happens quite often at Lake Arthur where we sail. We're often out there in sailboats, but there will be other motorized boats or pedal boats or canoes or kayaks we call human-powered boats. Here the rules of the road dictate, or the rules of the lake dictate, that human-powered boats like kayaks or pedal boats or canoes would have the right-of-way over sailboats. We would have to yield to those boats. But it also states that sailboats have the right-of-way over motorboats, and so therefore motorboats should get out of our way. There are many interesting examples and exceptions to these rules, and your instructor will cover those with you. One simple exception is some sailboats have a motor and sails. So if a sailboat is using a motor and another sailboat is sailing under sail power, the rules dictate that the sailboat using the motor is actually acting like a motorboat, and it must give way to the sailboat that's under sail. There's lots of little nuances to these rules, and these are all things that you'll get to discuss with your instructor in class. Thanks for taking time to review this video to get ready for class. I hope you found the information helpful. I look forward to seeing you at the lake. If you'd like some more information about tacking or more information about the sailboat that you'll be sailing on, I suggest you go to the Marine Sailing Club website, log in using your username and password, and go to the Community Sailing Program page. There you'll see links to other videos and step-by-step rigging directions, both for Sunfish and Flying Scots. If you have any questions, ask your instructor. See you there.